So if you clicked on this video to find the answer, which is better, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, neither one is better. They're just different. So the question you have to ask yourself is, which is better for you in your circumstances? What is up, you guys? It is Jazz, and on my channel I talk about nursing, hair, and holistic health and wellness. If this is your first time clicking on one of my videos, thank you for coming to hang out with me today. And if you are returning, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. All right, y'all, so you already know what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about LPNs versus RNs. I'm going to cover 5 main areas in today's video. Those 5 areas are going to be education, licensure, scope of practice, or in other words, what do these titles allow you to do in your job, where these titles allow you to work, and pay differences. First up, we're going to talk about education. So for LPNs do go to college, but they are non-degree programs. So typically when you complete an LPN program, you're receiving what's either called like a certificate or a diploma. And these programs usually take about a year of full-time study. If you're an RN, there's kind of 3 main options. The first are nursing diploma programs, where it's kind of like the LPN is a non-degree program. Then you have ADN programs, or associate's degree in nursing, which take about 2 years of full-time study. And then you have BSN programs, or Bachelor of Science in Nursing, which take about 4 years of full-time study. And there are also, you know, a lot of other pathway programs like RN to BSN, for example. If you got an associate's degree in nursing and want to transition to become a BSN nurse, there are programs that do that, you know, so on and so forth. Next up, we're gonna look at licensure. So after you graduate from your nursing program, whether that is LPN or an RN program, both of these take what is called the NCLEX, or the National Council Licensure Examination. However, there are 2 different versions of the NCLEX. So if you went through an LPN program, you take the NCLEX PN. If you went through an RN type program, then you take the NCLEX RN. Both of these are CAT type exams, or computerized adaptive testing, which basically just means the test adjusts its difficulty level based on how you're answering the question. So if you answer a question right, the next question is going to be a harder level question. If you answer that question right, it's going to be an even harder level question. And then on the flip side, if you answer a question wrong, it's going to give you an easier question next. And it just kind of moves up and down like this all throughout the test based on how you answer the questions. Because of this, there are kind of a range of total number of questions you can get before the test determines whether or not you pass or fail. For the NCLEX PN, you can see a range of 85 to 205 questions. For the NCLEX RN, the current version of it at least, you can see a range of 75 to 145 questions. With the next generation NCLEX, it'll be very similar, but just a little bit higher at 85 to 150 questions. And next, we're gonna talk about scope of practice. What does scope of practice mean? Scope of practice is basically just the things that each of these job titles allow you to do. This time, I'm kind of gonna start on the RN side. RNs are going to be the main ones doing comprehensive head-to-toe assessments, versus LPNs. They can do assessments, but more focused assessments. For example, like lung sounds that they would then report back to the registered nurse. That brings me to my next point. RNs can delegate tasks to LPNs. For the next point, RNs are going to be the main ones doing patient teaching and education. LPNs can then kind of reinforce teaching that RNs already did, but they are not going to be doing the main education and patient teaching, as well as like discharge teaching. RNs are gonna have to do that over LPNs. Now this next one, and with all of these, keep in mind that everything kind of varies a little bit state to state. So these are kind of just general statements, and speaking more of like from an NCLEX perspective. Like if we're going by NCLEX standard, this is kind of like the roles and responsibilities of each position. So for the next one, RNs are allowed to administer any meds, including IV meds, and initiate IVs or start IVs. LPNs can administer medications, but they cannot administer IV medications or start IVs. Once again, like I said, this does vary a little bit place to place, but this is just kind of like a general blanket statement. And next up, RNs can care for unstable patients. That might be like, for example, post-op patients. LPNs, on the other hand, are going to be doing more of the care for stable patients. That is because with unstable patients, you know, situations can arise and come up in which the LPN, it's not in their scope of practice to use the nursing process to make decisions and implement actions. The RNs have to do that. Expanding more on that, RNs are the ones that are kind of using the nursing process of assessment, coming up with nursing diagnoses, doing planning, and evaluating the outcomes. Where LPNs kind of come in is, like I said, helping with like focused assessments that they would report back to the RNs, as well as like in the implementation, there are a lot of tasks that LPNs can do that RNs might delegate to them. For example, inserting Foley catheters, checking blood glucose levels, doing wound care. These are all types of tasks that LPNs are able to do under their scope of practice. RNs are able to do all of these tasks as well as more tasks. And as an RN, you can also make the decision and the call to delegate tasks to those who are able to do them. And I might add, when as an RN you're delegating tasks, even though you're delegating that task to somebody else and somebody else is doing the task, you as the RN are responsible for that because you're the one who delegated the task. Lastly, one last little point, RNs are able to do blood transfusions, LPNs are not. That's just kind of like a basic little summary of the scope of practice, differences between RNs versus LPNs. There are many more things, you know, included within each scope of practice, but that's just kind of a general overall summary. All right, next up, where can you work as an LPN and where can you work as an RN? So as an LPN, you can work, and you most commonly see LPNs in residential care type facilities. So like nursing homes, rehabilitation centers, assisted living, group homes, things like this. You can also see LPNs working in doctor's offices or urgent cares, or another popular area for LPNs is in home health care. Now, once again, this kind of varies where you are, but in general, LPNs can't really work in the hospital. As an RN, you can work all those places that I just mentioned, but you can also work in the hospitals. When you go into a hospital, especially big hospitals in big cities, you're pretty much only going to see registered nurses working there. And lastly, now we're going to talk about pay differences. This is another area where it can kind of vary based on what resource you're looking at, based at the data from what year they're using, etc. But I just took this from nursinglicensmap.com, which reports that according to the 2019 data, the average salary for an LPN across the country was $48,500 compared to registered nurses at $77,460. Like I said, this kind of varies in what state you are. It varies, you know, if you're just starting out versus you've been in the game for 10, 15 years. But the general conclusion you can draw from this is that RNs make a good chunk of money more than LPNs do most of the time. So those were the 5 areas that I wanted to cover in regards to LPNs versus RNs. I hope that this answered some questions you might have been having and helped you to maybe decide which type of program and route is best for you. Keep in mind that if you do decide to start with an LPN route, you can always further your education to become a registered nurse. And in fact, a lot of people's nursing journey looks just like that. They start as an LPN, they go back to school, and they earn their RN title. And then after that, they may go even further and become an advanced practice nurse, earning maybe master's or doctorate degrees in nursing. So no matter where you start, they're both good options. Like I said, they're just different. So you have to just think about what's best for you and what's best for your circumstances and kind of what you're looking to get out of your nursing experience or what you're looking to do. Lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this video with me. I do really appreciate each and every single person who clicks on my videos. Once again, thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye guys.